HRV is helping people unlearn grind culture.
Is grind culture killing our nervous system?
150%. Because grind culture is always going to tell you that we got to go up to the right. You got to dig deep, push through, mind over matter, fake it till you make it to win the game. And that is a mechanistic perspective. That's like saying that you are a machine. And in fact, there's phrases like, oh, she was a machine, or he was a machine, or he moves like a well-oiled machine. The thing is, we are not machines. We are these living, breathing, organic systems that require ebb and flow in order to be well. The body-mind vehicle works way more like a bell curve. It isn't up to the right. And stress in and of itself isn't a bad thing. You actually need it to get better, faster, stronger. However, that works until it doesn't work.
What if the secret to your physical health, your emotional regulation, your capacity to live fully was hiding in a number that you probably never tracked? And today's guest says it is the most important metric for understanding how stress, trauma, and energy show up in the body. She's a former elite athlete, a media powerhouse, and now a pioneer at the intersection of energetics, leadership, and nervous system intelligence. Jessica Corbin joins us on Heal Thyself. She's the founder of Source, and she's leading the charge to end burnout and restore human vitality, one heartbeat at a time with HRV. In this episode, we're going to unpack how HRV isn't just a number, it's a mirror to your life force. And she shows us how to improve our HRV and how to read it. Let's dive in.
Thank you for joining this episode of Heal Thyself. To support the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. It gives us the opportunity to really expand this knowledge to people who need it most, and you can do your part by just sharing the love. Again, thank you for listening. I'm forever grateful, and I love you all. Let's get started. All right, before we get into this interview with Jess Corbin, and I'm telling you, it's going to be an interview that is going to blow your mind. When we're talking about leaders in nervous system, leaders in something called energetic literacy, which you don't even know about, but you're about to learn about and is going to change your life, we're going to do a somatic practice. We got to get in our bodies to really listen. We got to get in our bodies to feel. A lot of us are on the go. So we're going to take 45-second somatic practice wherever you are. If you can stop what you're doing. And before we start our guest interview, we're going to close our eyes, relax the belly. Oh my God, our belly's not even relaxed. We've been sucking it in all day. So we just relax the belly, close our eyes. We feel our butts sitting down or our feet on the ground. And we're just arriving here in our bodies, feeling the ground below our feet. And just coming back. Take a gentle breath through the nose for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. And breathe out. I'm going to do 2 more of those. Okay, so breathe in for 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to do one more to really ground ourselves and arrive here. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that's nice. And now we've arrived for the podcast. Just a quick bite-sized moment where we can all come back. And now we're here. I'm here with my incredible guest who I've known for quite a while now, maybe 2-3 years. Jess Corbin of Source. And Source is doing some incredible things we'll hear about. But before we even get to the conversation, we got our nervous system grounded, parasympathetic. And now let's turn it up a little bit with some rapid fires. I got a lot of, we want the rapid fires. And you love the nervous system. I love this. We go, we shift the
Healthy
gears.
nervous system can titrate between.
Exactly. And then we go back down, right?
That's right. That's the skill.
And we've been working on our nervous system. So you love the nervous system. I love the nervous system. We're going to go into all of the details of what you do in a moment. But really quick, knowledge to knowledge. What is the number one reason we have a dysregulated nervous system?
Oh,
real quick.
Disconnection.
Okay. Why are we disconnected?
There's long historical reasons for it. That question alone, we could spend hours talking about. So I don't want to undersell, but I think one of the main reasons we're disconnected is that we have never been taught about our mechanism.
Our body.
Yeah, we just haven't been taught about how it works. And when we have been taught about it, it's been taught through a very Western linear lens. And we are multidimensional beings, and this is the tuning fork. And we can perceive multidimensionally, but we've never been taught its language.
We're going to get into that too on our conversation. Okay. What is the number one thing or lifestyle or habit or lack of that really disrupts the nervous system more than anything?
The first thing I was going to say was being inauthentic, but I think we're primarily inauthentic because we don't feel safe.
Man, you're coming with the fire today.
Oh,
Okay. How big of a role does sleep have in your nervous system?
well, what's been interesting, this has been fascinating to me. I know it has effects. However, when we look at the thousands of users that we have accrued in their data, when somebody has a bad night's sleep, it does not always equate to having low HRV. So I'm looking at nervous system regulation primarily through an HRV lens.
Yeah.
And we actually haven't found a ton of correlates, which is bananas.
Oh, I'm interested in going to that one too. We are going into the sleep and HRV.
It's because you would think I get a good, and you wake up and maybe you even feel better, but it doesn't always show up in the nervous system. So we can talk about it. There is a lot to unpack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you found, at least maybe for yourself or maybe in data, is there a food that really helps the nervous system? Is there an approach dietarily that you found, especially you being an athlete, the dietary intervention that helps the nervous system? Hey everyone, I want to talk about something we rarely think about but impacts us more than anything else, and it's the air we breathe. Did you know that we breathe over 11,000 liters of air every single day? That is way more than 3 liters of water that we drink and the food we eat. But here's something that blew my mind. Most of our homes are basically working against our health. I know that sucks to hear. They're built for cost efficiency, but not human efficiency. The materials in your home are still off-gassing while you're living there, and most HVAC systems are not properly designed for optimal air quality. This is where Jaspr comes in. They are focused on something I've become passionate about, and that's turning your home into a sanctuary for your health. You start with your air that you breathe, always. Think about it. We obsess over organic foods and filtered water, but we don't think about the thing that we consume the most, and that's air. Poor air quality affects everything from your sleep to your energy levels. Jaspr partnered with Aura and saw that one of their clients, when they got a Jaspr, their score jumped from 61 to 91 on their sleep overnight after optimizing their air. That's life-changing sleep. So if you're ready to transform your home's air quality and feel the difference, visit jaspr.co/DRG. That's jaspr.co/DRG and use the code DRG to get $300 off for a limited time.
Well, an anti-inflammatory diet, hands down, is going to help HRV. But then we have to have the conversation about bioindividuality.
Okay.
Because anti-inflammatory is not the same for all.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, those are the 5 rapid fire questions.
Okay,
We had to get the engine going.
Okay.
We got the engine going, and now we got to get into this stuff. This is a fun interview. I like this. All right. So you love the nervous system. You know, you have this company Source, and you've dedicated so much of your time in your life to understanding heart rate variability. And heart rate variability, I've done shows on it, but we got to remind everyone what it is. Heart rate variability being the predominant measure for really not only nervous system health, but kind of how healthy are you as a person. So what is HRV, and what is one thing that you found most incredible about HRV that in your past few years you go, oh my God, HRV is just like everything?
So HRV is providing a window into the nervous system so you can see how recovered you are from the prior day's stress. And this is important because if you are understressing your system or overstressing your system, you're actually going to lessen your potential as a human. So in 1 minute a day, essentially, you can have this gas gauge on your body-mind vehicle that really can alert you to when you actually need to pull over and fuel up. And then when you have enough gas in the tank to just go on that road trip, man, or go fast or go to the racetrack, you know? So HRV for me was the change that changed everything with how I live, how I relate to others, and how I'm building my business. And we can get into that as well.
Yeah. You said 1 minute. You said
1 minute.
And now you got me curious and the audience curious.
Yeah.
What do you mean 1 minute we can know if we're supposed to go on a sprint or just rest?
Yeah. So technically, it's called an ultra short-term reading. It's a scientifically validated way to go about and getting what some people would call your readiness score. It shows you how ready you are to handle challenge and demand. And so all it's doing optically is you're putting finger to camera, and we are timing the flushes of blood that are moving into your finger. The timing between the flushes of blood in scientific terms is called the RR interval. And this holds so much ripe information about your energetic needs because your heart doesn't beat like a metronome, or at least you don't want it to. You don't want your heart to beat like a metronome. You want it to have variability, hence heart rate variability. This is not just looking at your heart rate. It's looking at the cross section between your cardiac system and your autonomic nervous system. And the more variables you have in these RR intervals, the more objectively resilient you are.
And those variations have to do with your heart's ability to go high and then come back down and then go high again and come back down. Sort of, we were talking about that resiliency?
Yes. HRV can be used as a key predictor for death. It was one of like the main ways in which they actually can predict both in vitro life and death is through heart rate variability. So with the variation in beats, when your heart starts to be just like a metronome, the closer you, this sounds so extreme, but the closer you are to death. So you might want like a kind of a range where it's like 0.8 milliseconds, and then you go into a 1.2 millisecond, and having that variation between the two is actually quite healthy. You want to see that technically inside of your HRV scores.
Okay, so no, that's
we don't
not
want
your heart.
that.
Because when we think about our heart beating, it's
because we don't have the sensitivity, you know, to attune to that, you know, small of a variation in our mind. However, our bodies are emitting this information, and now we have the translation tool through HRV.
Okay, so you had said the 1 minute tool, and we could put your finger on it, and it's scientifically validated. What is that tool? Where is that tool? Where do we find it?
Great question, Christian. In your camera, in your camera phone. So in your phone.
Our camera phone can measure our heart rate variability.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now you have to have certain controls.
Okay.
So it isn't, in order for it to have meaning, because you can take your HRV any day, any time during the day using the ultra short-term reading, but it isn't always effective to do it that way. If you want to get a scientifically validated readiness score, you have to do it upon waking, before ingesting caffeine or stressing your system in any way. And you have to do it in an upright position, and you have to breathe with the breath dial. You have to control for breath rate. And if you do that, then you can get, you know, a high quality rating, plus or minus 5% margin of error of an EKG.
Amazing. And this is an equal substitute to the Oura rings and the Whoops of the world.
100%. And it's preferred for the people that don't want to wear another thing.
Yeah.
What's so cool about Whoop and Aura, to give them their flowers, is that they are giving people a ton of data points. So they aren't just giving you your readiness score. They're also calculating maybe ovulation or your sleep score. We're not doing that at Source. We have one mission, which is to solve the human energy crisis. And we really don't believe that more is more. People are so overwhelmed and saturated with information. And to give them all of this information is kind of like why the quantified self movement has like petered out, because data without meaning falls flat. It looks cool. You want to see all the markers, but how do I apply this to my life? So the reason why Source is our preferred method is because you take a 1-minute assessment, you get energy status, which says you have a push day, maintain day, or recover day. And then you have a 1% change that you can make that day that gets you to higher ground. But it needs to be an app that you use in the morning and then you don't look at for the rest of the day. We don't want people living in the app. We don't want people micromanaging, looking at their trends, seeing where, oh, I had high arousal here and I had low arousal here. And by the way, that just is a nervous system, high arousal, low arousal. It isn't sexual. I mean, it might be. But it's like we want people to like get their marching orders for the day and then give them their time back. And as long as, if our job is done, they have now aligned their choices for the day and their actions much more so with their needs, so they can again unlock potential and prevent burnout.
Hey, look at my hand. I don't have my Oura ring. My wrists are free. And you want to know why? It's because I started going kooky with all this stuff. I go, oh, well, I didn't sleep. Oh, maybe I got to fix this. Maybe I have to fix this. All of a sudden I was not even listening to my body. And my body was saying, hey man, like, you actually slept kind of well. You feel kind of good. It's saying that you slept horribly, but I'm like, but I feel good. I started getting anxious. I go, wait, well, what do I have to do more of and less than? So there has to be a middle ground, at least with too many data points for me, for someone like me. But I'm not a biohacker. Now, Source has, you can go, and we're going to talk more about Source at the end, but you can go on Source, the app, right? And you can get this monitor. And you can test it in the mornings.
They can have a membership. It's called The Practice.
Easy. Okay, so we'll go into that more, but I think it's just brilliant that at the comfort and convenience of our phone, which everyone has, we can measure something that tells us how energetically prepared we are for the day. And if we actually follow it, we might find our energy sources start really building up and we start feeling better and having more resiliency. Heart rate variability is the most important thing. Every time I do my courses, there's always a big section on heart rate variability so people understand how important that is in vagus nerve and nervous system health. All right. So, man, you mentioned, I'm here saying you got to get all the best sleep and it's going to affect your heart rate variability. But you are the one who sees all the data. You see the back end data. You're doing the science up to date because you're seeing real life conversions of how people are showing up. And so what was that point you said on sleep? What's happening with sleep and actually our resiliency for stress?
So I want to be really clear. I think sleep 100% does matter, but what we don't see is a direct one-to-one, get bad sleep, low score, get good sleep, high score. I think that though, if you're getting chronically low levels of sleep, you will have a lower baseline, period. But it's weird how it actually shows up in the objective and subjective data. Because at Source, we're also really making a case for this whole thing about taking your HRV score. It's just a portal. It's like it's the point of entry for the inquiry. You know, we don't want this to be like something giving you a mandated direction. And if you don't follow it, like you're not going to be well. No, this is like you starting to foster a true connection with self and looking at how through this, again, elegant, powerful biomarker, what it's emanating on that day. And then, you know, once you're kind of like, you open and you align, oh, I got a push day. We want you to be asking, and why? Like, well, what resourced you enough, you know, to get a push day today? And If it's a recover day, why? If the baseline dropped over the last week, what's going on? So we're prompting people to not just get so left-brained on it and just be so logical about it. We really want to take people on what we like to say, science meets self-discovery. Like allow these to be entry points for self-discovery.
And we're actually building a relationship with the body.
Yes.
Because if I'm over here seeing that my readiness score is great, well, then what did I do the night before, the day before? How did I have? Oh, well, I had a really nice lunch and felt connected to my friend, and I actually did a nice walk, and the sun was out, and I got some sun, and I managed my stress. You're gonna see, related to you as the person, what things in your life actually count for you, right? Because maybe it's not the same for everyone, but individually, what's really, really helping you and your body respond the most? Maybe you're connected to journaling more than me, and journaling just
100%.
grounds you to the T. And okay, why don't you journal a little bit more then? Because it's going to help your HRV. Should everyone be knowing their HRV? Should they know their number, their levels, or their readiness?
I think it should be a standard in health.
The HRV.
Yeah. I think you wouldn't drive a car that didn't have a gas gauge, and yet you're driving your body mind vehicle, without really understanding, again, how resourced you are on an objective level. And I think, again, it is a change that can change everything. But here's what's really, really, really important in this pursuit is that push doesn't mean good, right? High score doesn't mean good, and a low score doesn't mean bad. It's so imperative that we get people to unlock this binary between high, good, low, bad, because that's why, again, I said HRV is like this bridge between like the science and the soul. Every time that especially if you are a high performer, you always want to have a high score. You always want to win the game. With HRV, it's like getting a recover day doesn't mean that you lost. It's natural. You actually need recovery in a healthy mind-body vehicle. You need it. So I think that HRV is helping people, once you really understand the science of stress, it's helping people unlearn grind culture.
Oh my God. Is grind culture killing our nervous system?
150%. 150%.
How so?
Because grind culture is always going to tell you that we got to go up to the right. You got to dig deep, push through, mind over matter, fake it till you make it to win the game. And that is a mechanistic perspective. That's like saying that you are a machine. And in fact, there's phrases like, oh, she was a machine, or he was a machine, or he moves like a well-oiled machine. The thing is, we are not machines. We are these living, breathing, organic systems that require ebb and flow in order to be well. And so the body-mind vehicle works way more like a bell curve. It isn't up to the right. And stress in and of itself isn't a bad thing. You actually need it to get better, faster, stronger. However, that works until it doesn't work. So you start to go over the falls with your efforting. You see everywhere, especially our high performer type A people, which I am one, which is why I had to create the company, because I had to solve my own problem. But you leverage your will. You take your willpower and you leverage it above all of your body's aches and pains and fatigue. And you just keep doubling down on the old strategy until you get into a very, very precarious position. Either you have panic disorders, insomnia, burnout, cardiac dysfunction, and it just doesn't have to be that way. So when you learn, it's one of the most, from a spiritual perspective, HRV has like reinvigorated my belief in life's design. Because so much of what we're up against with all of this like depletion and fatigue and the human energy crisis, it's a design issue. And we need to give people new blueprints on how to build their lives. One of the things in medicine that I found so compelling when I was healing from a major health crisis was that, Western medicine was like a line and Chinese medicine was like a circle. And that's how I see, HRV. It's like, I know it's a Western biomarker that's used, but to me, it's way circular because the heart knows, or your HRV knows when your ego starts to drive the car. Your system knows when you're trying to extract at a rate that you can't repair.
Oh, yeah.
The distrust that's created between your spirit and your body is really real when the intent isn't to take care. And it's all showing up like in the frequency that your body is emanating through HRV. So to me, HRV keeps me honest. It keeps me in integrity. It keeps me from floating too far away from the truth or the isness of the moment, which is a bit more the non-dual place that I like to hang out.
Yeah, and I thank you for saying that to the deepest level, because when we look at HRV, we go, "Oh, I got to improve on my HRV."
Yeah. And you can.
I'm going to do all the things to hit my highest HRV.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's a deeper marker. And like you're saying, like I remember I read this, my first ever mind-blowing breakthrough book that changed my life was Conversations with God. I read it in college when I was a freshman.
Yeah. And
the book said, the mind will think it is in charge of the body, and we overcome what the body wants with our willpower.
Totally.
And we go, I'm in charge. Right. Then the body starts breaking down and we realize the body's more in charge than the mind. But ultimately, it's a soul. The soul will dictate when it's done with its time on earth. But we could still will. And that's the crazy thing. The will is crazy. We could will ourselves from like our soul's like, okay, I'm good on earth. And then, okay, another 20 years through will, right? But the reality is that like we have to come into that alignment. And that's sort of what I was hearing you say, is that as we come to this alignment, we're more honest with ourselves. Look, 10 years ago, I was 30. Now I'm 40, and I'm being more honest with myself that, holy shit, I can't just do the things that I used to do. Work out, lift, throw the weights, come home, drink food, not drink alcohol, drink food, drink my food like a protein drink, right? Eat, and then like kind of sleep okay, and then do the same thing tomorrow. Whoa, now I have to actually recover. You came inside, I have my PMF mat on the ground, right? I actually have to do things I know, and I'm being honest, and it's difficult to be honest, because I'm like, I really can't do what I did 10 years ago. But when you have something like an HRV, you're using this as your dictator to say, hey, you gotta be honest with yourself. Look, you've been depleted for so long. You got to start recovering and repairing.
And I think what I love about HRV and what I appreciate about the work that you do and what you stand for is that a lot of times you'll hear the story of HRV through a physical lens. It's not. HRV is picking up. It's so elegant. It's looking at your multidimensionality, your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relational aspects. And it's distilling it down into a single data point. So yes, you can use HRV to determine training protocols. That's how I started. But then when you start to see, so when I had that clearing conversation where I told the truth to somebody that I was really scared to tell the truth, and I repaired that relationship, my baseline rose. It's like, when I don't suck it down and swallow what's true for me, my baseline rises. And it's just life wanting to say, yes, yes, like live. There are levels to this game. Physical is one. And is your spirit able to rest easy inside of your body? Because we're going to see your HRV rise when your spirit can also rest easy inside your body.
I love the rest easy piece, right? Rest the body, but how do we rest the spirit?
Right.
It's not contracted, it's actually expressed. It's able to be there. I wonder, and we're going to be doing it in our work together when we do the Source Lab.
Yes.
I wonder how deep it goes, how much of a jump in the HRV or readiness, or you have all this good energy, does it go when you address the psychosomatic repression components like, okay, repressed emotions, lack of purpose, disrupted relationships? I think those are the three biggest, at least psychosomatic boulders in the river that doesn't allow that flow. So if those three are handled, I wonder what happened to the HRV. I can only do one-to-one person testing with my patients, but now I'm excited to do it in a cohort with you. But in your experience, at one or all three of those, do they really help jump the HRV?
Yes. And I saw it like in my data last week. I was anticipating, I knew I had to have a clearing conversation with somebody. And I was anticipating it, and it was gnawing at me, and eventually I had it, and then it was just like, boop, 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 boop.
Whoa. Really?
Christy, same.
Yeah.
And we talk about this on our podcast called the Practice Podcast. And we show our data and we tell people, okay, so this is what went down this week. And you'll see that, yeah, sometimes workouts, they help fortify you. But a lot of times it's like this deeper inner work that really helps to adjust baseline.
It's funny. You hear people like in the mental health world, in the spiritual health world, they're like, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I think I'm doing it. But maybe a marker via HRV will tell you if you're really doing the work. It'll show you.
Yeah, it might. In my experience, when I first started using HRV, I was in a real bad way.
Yeah.
I wasn't telling the truth in a lot of spaces. I was really, and it was at the time well-intended. I was just not wanting to burden people with what was true for me. But I had a lot of truth aches inside because of it, man.
Truth aches.
Yeah.
I like that.
Deep in my bones, my heart, like just collapsing my whole system. And, I've shared with you, I was a Division I cross country and track athlete. I've always been very physical, and that never stopped, but I was still so low. My HRV was like on our platform was like in the 60s. Now I'm in the 90s. Well, what changed? It wasn't the way that I worked out. I am now 17 years older than when I first started. And my HRV is so much higher. So it isn't age. It's my ability to live in energetic integrity that has changed my game. And that's what I'm here and taking a stand for others, is that it's what time it is, guys. We can all live with this level of integrity because our subconscious, it stops us from living with that type of authenticity because there were consequences in the past. When women spoke out in the not too distant future, we would be subject to the stake, right?
Yeah.
And other people, for various reasons, couldn't live with this type of integrity. Now, though, we are more free, and we need to catch all of ourselves up to the freedom that's available to us. Now, we got to update these modes and ways of being and agreements. And I just, again, I love the journey. It's been painful and beautiful to get to the place where it's like, okay, authenticity is absolutely needed. Energetic integrity, energetic literacy. We've gotten really good as a society moving from our left brain, our logic and our rational mind, but it's leading all of us to be severely lopsided and incomplete, severed from self. The whole right brain, the energetic, the emotional, the intuitive, the somatic, we have to start occupying the right side of our brain in order to be whole. And we got to get these sides talking to each other in a way that's like really friendly. Our logic and our emotions, they need a way to bridge back to each other. And HRV helps us do this. I know at first glance, it doesn't seem like it, but it does.
And the number will help us bridge that communication because we'll have better parameters.
Because the logical mind, all the conditioning is always going to say, ignore what's happening on the energetic and emotional. It's going to say, it doesn't have a place here. Sweep it under the rug, put a smile on, keep it going. It's going to have all of its proof as to why slowing down means imminent death. So we have to, again, this is the work you're doing too, is like get people really comfortable creating safety, inside their own bodies so that they can begin to really listen to its language and what it's trying to reveal. Because being available to your body is a revelatory experience.
I love that, being available, because we're not available. We've abandoned.
It's like a do not disturb sign.
Yeah. We've abandoned and push. We just abandon and push. We don't even have that connection.
Yeah.
And then we go, oh, I don't know why I have the flu right now. How did that happen?
Right.
You know, like
So
what?
weird.
You just past 4 weeks, you've been just pushing down your body and running it down. Yeah. So I love this because I'm going through my own journey with this. I'm like, okay, how am I showing up for my body?
Yeah.
This is why I said I was struggling and like denying that I'm older.
Yeah.
Than I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so like I was pushing away recovery and I was like, I could do whatever I want. But now I actually kind of need recovery.
I know.
You know, and it's pretty wild to like be like, I have to take time to do this now. Like I have to take time to stretch now.
Yeah.
I never stretched.
Yeah.
I didn't like stretching,
Yeah.
you know? Now I'm like a tin man if I don't. So like all of these things are becoming real.
But you seem so available for your emotional body.
Emotional body, but it's the physical body
Okay,
that I
okay.
just think is like indestructible.
Okay.
And I'm actually realizing.
Oh yeah, it's humbling.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's
Oh my
humbling. all of a sudden. I went to the urgent care this morning.
Oh honey.
And I have sciatica. We were talking about this downstairs. I go, sciatica. I go, old people have sciatica. What am I doing with the sciatica now? Because I had this deep pain. And the beautiful thing is actually though, this sciatic pain that I've had the past 2 weeks out of nowhere, I've never even had this, taught me. It said stop. And I'm like, okay, what portal is this showing me? What is this showing me? Because I couldn't work out for a week and a half. So I go, okay, if I can't go to the gym, I'm going to rest. But now if I'm going to rest, I'm really going to rest. That means I'm not going to have my phone on me. So then I was really resting. And then I was kind of by myself and I was like, oh, I need to come to terms with some stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do you see like the body was like, hey
100.
man, stop. Ironically, this is crazy. Once they told me that I have sciatica and it wasn't cancer or anything like that, I was like, oh, I'm good. And now it's feeling better.
Awesome.
Isn't the mind body crazy?
I know.
But I took that lesson of the rest and recovery. And now I know that it has to be part of my nighttime ritual. I have to do the yin yoga. I have to journal. I have to stretch a little bit. I got to be on the PMF mat. But all that to say, and I'm sharing my experience because if I was testing my HRV every day, my HRV I guarantee would start showing better now because I've listened to what my body was saying.
Yeah.
You talk about energetic literacy.
Yeah.
I've never heard this word coined.
Yeah, of course not.
But you're an innovator, right? So why is this so important? Well, viewers and listeners, why do we have to even care about energetic literacy? What is it and how does it even implicate our lives?
So we've been working inside organizations for a very long time now. And we really realize that people don't have a language for what they're experiencing. They understand financial literacy, the ability to manage your money for improved financial health, but they had no idea how to manage your energy for improved energetic health and well-being and performance. So it is just that. It's the definition is the ability to understand, manage, and renew your energy. That's energetic literacy. But as you know, there are layers to this onion that we're peeling. So we take a subjective, objective approach to peeling the onion. So objectively, it's all about the HRV as the entry point for what is, not putting judgment on what is, just looking. This is what's happening. My resources are low today, and what would help would be parasympathetic nervous system support, or my resources are high today. I actually could increase my energetic portfolio if I really stretched myself out of my comfort zone. This would be the day to do it. So we're just teaching people again how to increase their energetic capital, if you will, through that objective lens. But the part that I also find essential is the subjective lens. So we have people go through energetic literacy assessments where we're looking at 5 stages of behavior change in the process. We're looking at, are people willing to look at their energy? Are they aware of where it's at in their body? Are they able to articulate what it feels like or what it's asking for? And then are they able to take action from their information. You'll hear me often say, your energetic information. Your energetic information. There's so much information here for people to, again, open to, articulate and act from. And then the final stage is reflection. If we get people into a comfort of staying willing, staying aware, staying articulate, acting from their energetic information and reflecting, you're going to be able to get, it's like your body's like a channel. It unkinks the hose.
Oh, yeah.
And people just start to get more free. So objective alone doesn't get the job done. We need the subjective lens as well when trying to renew energy. Because again, biohacking, I just think it's incomplete. You know, we have to foster a relationship to self that's loving. And I find being willing, staying aware, articulate, acting, that is such a loving act.
Yeah.
And if you can do it for yourself, you start to do it in your relationships. You start to do it with the work that you're doing in the world, the environments that you're in. And we get to open up this sixth sense in ways that's like totally transformative. And we need things to transform on this third dimensional reality.
Big time.
Yeah.
You're talking about biohacking, it's crazy now hearing Dave Asprey starting to talk about emotions, spirituality.
I think he's doing some psychedelics. What do you think?
Some psychedelics have been saying all this biohack stuff doesn't matter if it's not rooted in this.
Yeah.
Really it's shifting. Yeah. He sat in that chair talking about emotions and mitochondria. And I was like, who am I talking to right now?
Amazing.
So it's wonderful that there's this shift happening because it's all going to come back to all of the things that we're talking about right now.
Have you always occupied this integrated perspective? Yeah. So it's always been
Yeah,
who you
I'm a
are.
naturopathic doctor. It's like it's how we learn to look at the body.
Yeah.
There's always mind, body, spirit, emotions, physical, everything.
Yeah.
So, and it all plays together. Everyone's okay. So they go, oh, I'm going to measure my HRV and it's getting better. But now this guy that I'm living with has come back from vacation. And now I know this relationship is really triggering and he's kind of toxic, cannot affect the HRV, the relational
100%.
aspects.
We were on a group coaching call the other day and a woman shared, so like my ex-boyfriend came to stay with me for 2 days and like I had like the lowest recover days I've ever had. Do you think it's because he's here? And I was like, well, what do you think? Well, what do you think? Yeah, body is saying, no, I don't want you in my space. Now, again, that's initial. And then, of course, there are ways to work with your parts and yourself to become more integrated so you aren't so easily triggered. But, that's an art and available for anybody that's dedicated.
You could build more resiliency, but your body isn't going to lie.
Right.
Your body's like, oh, no.
Right.
I don't feel safe with this person.
Right.
It's like really, really important.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's a lot of, and you mentioned you work with companies and I want people to understand what Source does. I want them to understand what they can find on Source and why it's so important. And for all the viewers and listeners, we're going to be partnering together.
Yes, we are.
And I'm going to run a 8-week
Source Lab.
And I'm bringing a cohort through 8 weeks of deep, fundamental, physical, mental, emotional healing tracked by HRV from this is where we're together joining forces, tracked by HRV, and all this data is going to be shown throughout time. So you're going to see in real time how you're improving. And that's exciting. It's exciting because I haven't had the science tracking with the work that, I've created over the years. And I would love to see, and I know it will, but I love to see. And this is for everyone, right?
Absolutely. It's going to be such a compelling journey.
Yeah, it's going to be compelling. So for Source overall, you mentioned you work with companies. What are you guys doing at Source?
So We initially started primarily working with organizations. I had a big, hairy idea of tracking the nervous system of cultures. When I was solving my own problem of burnout, I became very dedicated to understanding root causes. And what was wild is that the human energy crisis or burnout, yes, there are things that we need to do individually to support our healing. However, the environments that we are in really matter. So I was doing all the things, right? I was like eating right, exercising, doing inner work. But then for me, I had to address another system, which was my family system. I had to work with that. And once that got harmonized, then all of a sudden baseline rose, right?
Gotcha.
Now, inside organizations, these are highly complex family systems. And I became enamored with the possibility of tracking the nervous system of culture and being able to see what teams are super susceptible for burnout, what teams are primed for peak. And when we would see certain moments in data, we survey these people, we aggregate all this information from the inside. So it isn't like a bunch of outside people coming in and saying what they need to do. We're actually mining the data from the inside. And that was super helpful. However, there's another layer of, which is why now I'm happy to say we're building a regenerative business. It's the next step on the journey as a creator in life that you can only do so much good until you get the whole system to start to redesign itself to align with the logic of life. And there are a lot of these organizational structures that environmentally are creating so much oppression, extraction, and stress that no matter how well one person takes care of themselves, they'll never be free of burnout because the environment is so toxic. So again, in order to solve the true flex is regenerative business in the future of work. So now, yes, we work with organizations to deploy the tech, but we're also a regenerative consultancy for organizations that want to completely redesign the fabric, the DNA of their cultures to be more life affirming on every level.
To all the CEOs, CFOs, CMOs, C-suite, you got to know that the future is this regenerative business model, because if your teams are run down physically, mentally, emotionally, your business is going to be hurt. You want to know what department needs love, needs rest, needs encouragement, needs community building, needs connection in order to really, really up level your company. So that's just a side note. And that's why hairy is a big thing. You said a big, hairy idea, because I know you've been working really hard for many years doing this, but I love to see it off the ground and now really implemented, and it's changing the fabric of really.
That's how we get up as much upstream on solving this problem of the human energy crisis. We get the corporations to actually foundationally change the way that they design. It's a design issue. They're so afraid that it's actually going to plummet profit.
Yeah.
That's their biggest fear, is that if we give people space to recover, that they will not produce. Wrong. But it's such a disruptive, you're literally jumping a paradigm.
It's so clear. I mean, look, like I have a small little team, but like it's so clear that like if I say, hey, just take the day off, they're going to come back so strong. The energy. And and by the way, there's a connection there. You know, it's like, oh, we're not machines. You know, we're not these little cogs making these gears, you know, just.
You guys, the future is so sad if we lose the connection to the people. Like, it's just sad, you know, just let it be big business extracting from people like vampires. Like, it's sad.
It's tough.
And it doesn't have to be that way. So we just need to galvanize, you know, powerful creators just from the beginning of business creation to design in a certain way. Amen. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to retain your employees, and you will build a more vibrant, future for all.
Amen to that. Okay. All right. The last part of this segment is this protocol segment. Okay. And you don't even have to overthink it.
Okay.
Just for the viewers and listeners out there who go, I want to have more autonomy over my energy.
Yes.
I want to feel better. I want to be more connected to my nervous system. What is Jess Corbin of Source, the protocol for better energy?
When you wake up first thing in the morning, you take your HRV score, and then you sit in meditation, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. You get up, and if you can, you give somebody in your vicinity a big, long hug. You got to get that touch time in early. Rub somebody's back, have somebody rub yours. All of that is super, super soothing. Rub a dog. Oh my God, get a dog. Rescue a dog. Rub your dog. And then I basically fast until 11. But then when I break that fast, I either do, a whole food smoothie or some protein. We'll see. And then, throughout the day, there's just a series of anytime that we're kind of starting a meeting internal, just kind of like level setting, just kind of what we did to begin this podcast. Those little things, they really do add up. And then I like movement. Give me some movement during the day. I take a ton of supplements. I do.
Two of them. Two of your favorites.
Oh, two of my favorites. Well, this is embarrassing, but I'll say it. Well, one is embarrassing. It's called warm menses.
Okay.
So for women of a certain age, that if you get PMS, it really is super helpful. It's a Chinese herb that I love, and I don't know the Chinese name. The translation is warm menses, which is funky, but I use that. And then I also have been taking. It's not a supplement, maybe BCP 157. It's a peptide for tissue regeneration, and
you
that's
love
been
those.
Good. I have found benefit. What
about come the nighttime? How do we balance our nervous system, get our energy right for the next day?
Okay. The turn down is important. Like at about after dinner, we need to start lowering the lights. I like to have some low lights in the house, get rid of all the upper light and just do low lights from 8 p.m., 9 p.m. on. And it's just a slow, I'll just every night methodically just slowly reduce the lights. And then again, I'm just a touch person. So it's cuddles, just cuddles.
Do cuddles help the HRV?
100% it helps HRV. Touch. If you're a touch person, understand your love languages, because anytime that you're in the presence of love and you feel it, it's actually changing the way that your heart beats. It's changing it, HRV, how we use it, again, is a readiness score, but you can also use HRV to track states and state changes. When you're in the gaze, in the presence of something that you love or makes you joyful, from a Heart Math perspective, which is another company, we can see how that actually changes the electromagnetic frequency of your body. And so,
touch and cuddles.
I'm just a big touch person.
Touch and cuddle. Thank you for your protocol.
Oh, and then my most important protocol is I like nighttime, either in a journal or with a person or your dog, just to do I love yous. I love you today because, and it could be to yourself, it could be to your other person, but love is really important in this work.
I can imagine how much that helps HRV, right?
100. Feeling
that love and talking about Heart Math.
Yeah.
Thank you for that protocol.
Of course.
So you simplified it so easy. You know what I mean? And
it really isn't complicated for me.
Warm menses. Shout out to Warm menses. Shout out to the Warm menses. Okay, amazing. So where can people find you, and what's the website for Source?
Yeah, source.io is how they can find Source. I don't have a website at the moment. with that, but I will have one soon.
Okay.
But source.io is where you can find everything that
And
I care
that's where
about.
they could do the HRV testing with their finger.
Yes. And you just go to the practice page, and that's where you can enroll for a 30-day experience. And then if you like it, you can become a member and you can continue to practice energetic literacy with us.
And we're looking for the Source Lab with me to come out around when?
May 26th.
May 26th.
I don't want to totally timestamp that hard, but that's like the zone that we're looking for.
Keep an eye.
And
we're going to be published.
It's going to be an 8-week lab.
Yeah.
And it's going to be powerful.
Oh my God, it's going to be incredible. Thank you for your wisdom and your drive to do this, but also your rest to do this.
Yes.
And it was really, really lovely to hear just your perspective and your protocol and empowering people. I got to do this new breakdown of the show and the guest with you, and you're the first person. So we did some breathing, we did some rapid fire, we did the guest segment, and now your beautiful protocol. Thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you, doctor.
All right.